I thought, okay, as a teacher, what do I bring to the table? I can't program a financial spreadsheet yet. I can't, I don't understand social media or marketing yet. I don't understand textiles. I had to go to school and learn. So the last 3 years of my life, I feel like my brain's just been sort of, I guess something you talk about in your book too is like you discover new passions, new skills, and you create a rich and more dynamic life. It has been that, but it's also coupled with fear management all the time, right? And learning on not a curve, but really in a straight arrow up. And it can be very scary and painful, terrifying.
I'm Patrick J. McGinnis, and I coined the term FOMO. That's short for fear of missing out, and it's why some people end up following the crowd when they should be blazing a trail of their own. But if you want to achieve greatness in business and life, you've got to break free. Come on, I'll show you how. This is FOMO Sapiens, where we explore how entrepreneurial thinkers find the inspiration and the courage to build exceptional lives. Welcome to another episode of FOMO Sapiens, the show for entrepreneurial thinkers. I'm your host, Patrick J. McGinnis, and today we are talking to Claudia Glass, the founder of Swijin. After over 20 years of teaching high school English in the US, Berlin, and Zurich, Claudia sidewayed herself into an entirely new industry, founding a female-focused sports tech startup, Swijin, the creator of the world's first and only intelligent sports bra. Along the way, she has partnered with the Swiss Federal Laboratories for Materials and with athletes at the elite levels and with scientific partners to outperform the status quo in the sportswear industry. Welcome to FOMO Sapiens, Claudia.
Thank you, Patrick. Enjoying the conversation already. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
I love that. And we'll get into this, but we met over email a couple of years ago, and here we are today. It's amazing. 4 years later, we're going to talk about all of that. But first, I start every episode with the same question, and even you will not escape it. The question is this: tell me something unexpected you learned about yourself that changed everything.
Was probably when I was still teaching high school English, and my principal at the time asked me to join the school improvement committee. I'm sure it was called something else. And
is that like a German like some Swiss German
no,
situation?
It was an international school at the time, and he was Canadian, John Switzer.
Okay.
And he was just a very good leader and helped identify just some growth that potential I had that I didn't see in myself. And so I started to take a leadership position in the school. He said he saw leadership abilities in me, and I never really thought I had those. I thought I was the goofy, creative person in the room who made everyone laugh. But I started taking them on and really enjoyed it and got positive feedback from my colleagues. And that was a big growth opportunity that was unexpected.
The reason you're here is because you emailed me back in 2020. You had heard me on, I think, Kara Golden's podcast or something. Hello, Kara.
Yeah.
And then kind of found my stuff, and you were you found out about the 10% entrepreneur, and you were actually thinking about doing entrepreneurship while teaching high school. And since then, you have gone full on in after doing 10%, started this company, and it's kind of an amazing story. Like, you really did the thing. Tell us, just before we get into that narrative, how did you come up with, what is Swijin, and how do you come up with the idea for it?
Okay, so first of all, 10% Entrepreneur, thank you for writing that book. And anybody who's interested in becoming an entrepreneur, I feel like that book is a nice way to just sort of dip your toe into it. And it really helped bridge the gap between my former job and then going in at 100%. So Thank you, first of all.
Thank you.
And I think I reached out to you because I wanted you to know that it does make a difference can change an entire person's life to read a book like this. So it was an important book. I always mention it when I speak to people. But Swijin, the idea came to me on summer vacation. And I was in Mallorca, and every morning I started my day with an espresso and a run down to the beach, wearing a sports bra, my conventional sports bra, and running shorts. And I got to the water hot and sweaty and wanted to jump in the water and combine my run with a swim. but without changing clothes, and thought, well, wouldn't it be great if there was a sports bra I could wear and pair with a pair of like biker shorts, and I could run through the streets in it, jump into the water, swim, and then run back home. And so when I returned to Switzerland after that vacation, I started looking into like biomimicry and yarns and how could one make a really fast drying fabric. And I stumbled upon the Swiss Federal Laboratories for Materials Science and Technology. And I really reached out with a cold email to them and asked if they could help me. And so that started sort of the conversation about, oh, this is really actually quite fascinating because this is not as easy as you think to make.
Yeah. So let's just process what you just said. You are not in that world. I mean, you're an athlete. And so you have an idea for a product, a new product that would solve a problem that athletes have. And I think a lot of us come up with ideas all the time. I had this idea recently, like, oh, I want a thing to put suntan lotion on my back if I'm alone. Like say I'm, at the beach, but like I didn't do anything with that idea. And nobody should steal that unless you want to partner with me. But here you are, you come up with this random idea sounds good, but you don't have the sort of background that one would typically think of for somebody to go do that. And you just cold call these people and convince them to partner. Like, where did that come from? I mean, had you always thought you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, where did you get the sort of mojo to do that?
So I think I've always had these two hearts in one chest, and one was for education because I had a lovely career for 2 decades as a high school English teacher, and I enjoyed it, and I love teaching teenage minds. I enjoyed it, but after a certain amount of time, I just realized I'm making the same joke for the same Shakespearean sonnet at the same time for the same laughs, and I felt like I was getting to a point where I wasn't growing anymore, and personal growth was really important, combined with the fact that my whole life I've been sort of tinkering with this idea that I wanted to start a business. There's always been this feeling. And on a drive home from school in the fall, after that vacation, I thought to myself, there's something it was an intuition sort of that definitely you have to do something, Claudia. You need to do something now. Okay.
And so you do that, you go reach out to them.
Yeah.
And then they give you feedback. Okay, great. But like, what's next? Because that's nice, but there's a lot that has happened since. So how did you figure out what to do?
So they helped me a little bit because Switzerland is known for being the most innovative country on the planet. And there's lots of institutions and there's government grants that allow you to spearhead innovative projects together with institutions, scientific institutions, for example. So the first thing we did was apply for a miniature grant that just let us have a little look-see on what's already on the market and how does it measure up to what we really want to create. If there is room for innovation, you apply for yet a second grant. And that was a bigger grant that went over the course of 2 years, and it was a sizable amount of, tax dollars that go to this. So after 2 years, when we started that project, it started going, we started creating something, and we were starting to do the research even down to like the atomical level on what should be the raw material that goes into making this and making it fast drying. And then a famous committee of athletes reached out to us and asked us if they could meet and said, hey, listen, we caught word that you're creating this product that's a hybrid product. It's a sports bra that allows you to swim and run. And we just want you to make a regular sports bra for athletes. So, maybe a quarter of the way into this 2-year project, we sort of pivoted to address the needs of the sports bra for the elite athlete in general.
FOMO. Yeah, I mean, I remember the original idea when we met you were in New York, we had lunch. And yes. So this is, by the way, when people write me, I do write back. And sometimes we have lunch. And so I remember it was this concept of like for triathletes going from wet to dry and stuff like that, which, by the way, is a perfectly good market. But what happened along the way is as you socialize this idea and got feedback from the market, you realized that there was a opportunity that was unmet that had a bigger TAM, total addressable market, than than the sort of like the niche of triathletes, right? And so you kind of reinvented yourself a little bit there. Was that the kind of thing that the minute you heard it became blindingly obvious, or did you need to sort of convince yourself to do that?
The beauty of it was, Patrick, that what we first did was got curious, because there's thousands of sports bra on the market. And so the first question was, really, the world really needs another sports bra. But then we conducted a survey with the professional athletes in Switzerland, and were able to isolate their 3 pain points. And the problem was that so chafing injuries is the first one. Lots of chafing injuries. The more in shape you are, the more you sweat, the more your cell membranes swell, the more easily they're ruptured. The second one is still lack of stability. 63% of all women still suffer from breast pain when they exercise, 63%. Wow. So the problem hasn't been solved. And the third problem is the restricted breathing because of the underbreast band that runs underneath your breasts. And that requires lots of energy to expand your rib cage to breathe freely. So we needed to solve all 3 of these problems in one product. And because we had already sort of started to invent this hybrid swim run product, we could transfer so much of that onto the actual sports bra. So it was sort of a little bit of a miracle that everything that we were going deep research into for the hybrid product, fast drying, for example, right? Very important to eliminate chafing injuries, or even the construction of the bra, because swimmers often, for the crawling, right? They need lots of freedom of movement for their arms. So our bras are really hollowed out here by the shoulder so that you have freedom of movement. You can cross your arms. But this is also lovely at CrossFit, And we had a high-waisted bra made, a high neck bra. The bra line, is high, because if you're swimming with a low cut bra, of course it acts like a parachute, and the water goes in, and your bra turret falls off, right? Wow. I a personal experience in a hotel with a prototype. So it was just it was lovely to see, because you take your bra now, a Swijin bra, into your hot yoga class where you're sweating profusely, and you're upside down, and your breasts aren't falling out of your bra. So there's even little, beyond the very technical aspects, there's like practical things with the Swijin bra that helps women.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, first of all, it's very nice to know that you sweat more when you're in shape, because that must mean I'm the most in shape person in New York City. But I think for guys too, for men who are listening, I certainly think, we are not necessarily aware of the importance of this one product. And if it doesn't work right, how it could be extremely annoying. And so the pain point is high enough that if you find a great solution, you can build a market around it. And there's a huge existing market. And once again, sometimes us guys, we undervalue or underestimate the size of the markets for things that are female centric. So this is good education for all of us. So it sounds really like the way it sounds like sunshine and rainbows over here. However, I have the suspicion that it isn't always easy. And so let's go back to some of those earlier days. Talk about what, like a challenge that really taught you something and what you had to do to get through it.
Yeah. So possibly one of the most disappointing parts of the journey that we survived was the creation of a brand new textile. So I think it was in 2021. It might have been this time of year in 2021 when we had a design thinking workshop take place at the Swiss laboratories. And that happened because I was running around Europe a lot in the car. I was listening to a lot of your podcasts, and I was...
Thank you so much. We noticed a surge in listenership
in Switzerland.
That month. Yeah.
So I was running around to yarn manufacturers, to the producers of the raw materials, to the weavers, and the knitters, the warp knitters, the circular knit, so the textile manufacturers. And I realized I didn't speak the language of the textile industry well enough to be able to put everything together myself. And so I ended up asking them all to come together for a 2-day design thinking workshop at one location in Switzerland, in St. Gallen, the home of the textile industry in Switzerland. And my mentor at the time is famous in Switzerland in the textile industry. Peter Eschler said, "Claudia, you're a dreamer. It's not going to happen. They're not going to come. You're inviting
Peter,
competitors.
don't be a wet blanket."
Yeah. And no one's ever done that, but they're not going to do that. And I did. I called them and asked them, and one group said, "Wait a minute, that the other textile manufacturer is coming, but we're competitors. Are they really going to come to this?" I said, "Yeah, they're coming." And so we had, I think, 28 people for 2 days, and through the design thinking workshop, we were able to come up with a combination of yarns that would create this fast drying textile. And it was a combination of a polypropylene and a polyolefin-based elastomer. Okay. And we were going to warp knit this, which had never been done before. So we got our Italian textile partner to help us. I think it was like a 60,000 euro project just to make the test run. Even the producer, Carl Meyer of the machines, was involved in helping. So it was a really interdisciplinary project that got everyone excited. And it took, I think, 3/4 of a year until it was all finished. And once the yarn is on the machine just shoots it out. It goes super fast. Like lining it up for this moment takes a lot longer. So I was just so excited to finally see the birth of this great idea. And when it came out of the machine, Patrick, the owner of the textile manufacturing company threw it across the table and said, "Get this out of here. I never want to see it again. It's horrible." And it was.
Wow, that's a little drama-y,
it was
if I'm being honest. I mean, seriously, like, turn it down, bro.
It was dramatic, and he was right, because he produces the softest, most sensitive textiles in the world that women love to wear on their skin. And here was this thing that felt more like something you would clean your pan with.
I see.
It was like a Brillo pad. We had to throw it out and start over.
Wow.
So at that point, I remember that was a moment where I thought, how can this, there's so many people, so much hope, so many resources involved in a complete failure. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from the Swiss laboratories, and they said, "Hey, Claudia, we found something here." And I said, "What did you find?" They said, "We found something that dries ultra hydrophobic. It may even be more hydrophobic than polypropylene alone." And I said, "What is it?" And they said, "It's some sort of a bio-based polyamide." And I said, "I know exactly what that is. And it's the one we're currently using." And I had thrown it in for us to examine because I like the sustainable aspect, because it was made out of oil from the castor bean, which grows in western parts of India. It's a really beautiful, silky, long chemical chain. So it feels like it really feels like gummy silk on your skin. It's lovely.
Now, I want to ask, did you get that guy back on side, the one who threw the textile? Is he back in, or is he still, traumatized?
No, he's a good friend of ours now, and we still produce with him. So, yeah. No.
Okay, because my feedback to him, like a nice schnapps, would be, listen, this is a process. You can't freak out on day 3. It's like, we will get there. That's what entrepreneurs do. But I understand that he had like a brand equity to worry about too. So I don't want to pick on him too much. Okay, enough about that.
He's Italian and dramatic. Yep.
I like it. Listen, I'm sure like the Brunello Cucinelli people do similar stuff all the time. Okay. So you launched the company. I remember this because you sent me that I follow you on Instagram, Swijin. Really beautiful stuff. I mean, you came out of the gates hot with like a beautiful branding and stuff like that. So did your sales just start right away? Were you just getting sales? Like what was it like? Build it and they will come.
Yeah. I started working I kind of co-created the swim run product with a group of women from Sweden who are swim runners, and became a swim runner myself. It's a beautiful sport that alternates between running and swimming on loop so many times. Yeah. You wear a wetsuit. They run and swim for many hours, some of them for 8 or 9 hours. So it was like creating a product under the highest duress possible, and it could not chafe, right? Because they're wearing a wetsuit on top. So I started with a very small specific group and made very few hundred sports bras to begin with. I had them manufactured in Italy to start, which was very difficult to do because you're competing against the luxury brands that are also producing there. you know? So it's sort of like, Claudia, you got to go now. Hermes is coming for the meeting. So, you're, and the price of producing in Italy is very expensive, and it was priced too high out of the gates. And I knew I had to make a change. So we ended up discovering a better production method that made the product last longer and took less time to make. And we moved production to a sports bra manufacturer who is a specialist in what we do. We don't sew our bras. We ultrasonically weld them and then bond them. It's a gluing method by which you eliminate stitches in the bra, which cause rubbing and chafing. And then we had to we were trying to figure out how do we get this upper breast stability working in the bra. And so basically what we do now is we screen print in a liquid elastomer between two fabric layers. And when you pull it over your breasts, these two the liquid elastomer sort of grips your breast and holds it down almost like KT tape. So it's, And we have been producing sportswear in Asia for so long that it's almost, people in Europe don't even know what that is or how to make it. So that was the second part. But we really needed to work and innovate with somebody who was specific in sports bras.
And where do you do this?
In Sri Lanka.
Wonderful. So you're going out to Sri Lanka, going to the factory, walking the floor. This isn't some Zoom situation.
I have been to Sri Lanka 4 times in 13 months. And now in 4 weeks, I fly there again. 5th time.
Wow.
But it's a wonderful place to be able to go, Patrick. So I shouldn't complain.
I know, I'm jealous. I haven't been there.
Place, yeah.
You're giving me FOMO, seriously. Okay, so you do that, you get the price down. And it's interesting. I just want to stop for a hot second and give you a read, which is that I was thinking about, I'm like, wow, she really tells the story very well. And it's very complete and it's logical. And you are really good at explaining things. And I'm just thinking, maybe every high school English teacher should become an entrepreneur, because there are things that we on the surface, it would be well, English teacher to sportswear brand person, is that a natural move? But we always forget that it's we leverage skills that we have built. You said, you made the same joke about the sonnet and you were kind of over that. Well, you now have your new narrative, which has, in similar ways, you're building that narrative that you used every year, but you're doing it as a business person in service of your brand and your company and fundraising, all the other things. So it's just an interesting thing to think about how we can pull things up that maybe we wouldn't have thought about in the past as being strengths in our career that would apply, and we can pull them into places where we didn't think we'd go. What's your read on my analysis?
I think one of the first posts I made was about your book, The 10% Entrepreneur, and some of the things you identified as skill sets of an entrepreneur. And although I thought, okay, as a teacher, what do I bring to the table? I can't program a financial spreadsheet yet. I can't, I don't understand social media or marketing yet. I don't understand textiles. I had to go to school and learn. So the last 3 years of my life, I feel like my brain's just been sort of, I guess something you talk about in your book too is you discover new passions, new skills, and you create a rich and more dynamic life. It has been that, but it's also coupled with fear management all the time, right? And learning on not a curve, but really in a straight arrow up. And it can be very scary and
terrifying,
painful, terrifying.
I find that stuff terrifying. But at the same time, when you do the thing and then you look back and you're like, wow, that was really scary, but I did it. Then guess what happens? So the even more terrifying comes along.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. You don't get very much time to recover.
No, you don't. All right. I have, before we go to the lightning round, I have one more question for you, which is, so, you're now out there, you're selling bras, you're building this company, and I'm curious, what is your current challenge? What's hard for you right now?
Right. So we launched the 2024 new product, which was the big innovation of sports bra that goes from A to D cups, called the Schnuggie, because we're kind of having some fun with our names there. Swiss term of endearment. And now we're looking at the third bra, which is for the women who really suffer the most, and they're women with the bigger cup sizes, so D through G cup. And I actually took my childhood best friend, Gia, with me to Sri Lanka with her G cup to help me innovate this third bra. And it's it's getting everything in alignment. Like the innovation has to take place for this bra. That's where I'm going to Sri Lanka in several weeks. I want to get it to market as fast as humanly possible because I know that women need this bra and I know it's going to work, but it's coordinating that with making sure that your patent's protected, getting the timing on the production right with your investors coming in at the right time with the right amount of investment to make sure that your team stays with you, to make sure that you have the cash flow to make it all happen. That's really tricky at the very beginning of a journey. And I think it's going to stay that way for a few more years. I need to get used to it. It's just, yeah. So it's all
how do you structure, like, just to not forget something? Do you use like a list, or like what's your kind of way of, because you just listed 4 very important things you have to focus on. Like, how do you actually just make sure that you're doing them when you need to?
I have so many people around me helping me. So my sister has been working with, Stephanie has been working with me since the beginning of this journey. And so she's like also been really good psychological support as my sister, but also is highly organized. Much the very organized sister. So she's the one who helps me in structures and says, okay, Claudia, kind of like a coach in a way. The new COO, CFO, she's just brilliant, and she knows. So she'll, remind me of things. I feel like what I'm doing is running around and trying to keep like balloons that are filled with helium, but only half filled, when they slowly start coming down, but you have to make sure nothing hits the ground. That's what I feel like I run around and do all day long and just push forward the vision. I'm eager to get everything sorted so I could continue to push forward what I really want, which is like the circularity aspect of the company, making sure consumers can return the product, having them recycled, not downcycled, but recycled into like virgin quality monomers that we can reintroduce into the supply chain. There are so many ideas for the future, new product innovation for female athletes based on the female anatomy. Testing. I was just in Memphis, Tennessee, testing with the sports bra scientists there. I'm eager to, find out more about how the sports bra affects the female body, the musculoskeletal health, etc.
Very impressive. I love that you're working with your sister. That is another thing we talk about in 10% Entrepreneur, chapter 10, I believe.
Yeah.
So, and that, that can be a disaster if you don't have the right relationship and you don't set the right ground rules. But if you do it well, it can be a huge unlock for you because it's somebody you inherently trust, right?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes. I'm going to say it in German, Steffi.
Yeah, Steffi.
FOMO. All right. So let's do the lightning round here. I got 4 questions for you. The first one, what's a favorite quote?
Okay. So I really do love, but it's being used a lot right now. Ariana Huffington brought it to my attention in a podcast I listened to, which is live life as if everything is rigged in your favor, which is Rumi.
Never heard it before. Ooh. It's Rumi, but you got it through Ariana.
Yeah. Live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. So that helps you with fear management. That's been really helpful because when I look back, and Sarah Blakely, actually, the founder of Spanx, just wrote something on LinkedIn very similar to those moments where you think things are not happening in your favor, but in retrospect, realize they really were and how thankful you were for that. Thank God, right? But the one that I thought, because the theme is self-reliance, and Ralph Waldo Emerson comes to mind, and there's a beautiful quote says, and it's about sports, right? And swim run was such a sport that got this started. So it's live in the sunshine, swim in the sea, drink the wild air.
Oh wow, Ralph, that's a banger.
Drink the wild air is nice. Huh?
And again, it's like, thank you, English teacher, for bringing a little class to this show. Some people, I'm like, what's your favorite quote? And it's like, it's like a Gary Vaynerchuk. No offense, Gary, but like, let's get some Ralph Waldo Emerson on this show. I love it. All right. Number 2, this is a new question actually. And I like it. So, favorite use case for ChatGPT?
Oh, I think probably synthesis. So I have a hard time. I think that's a skill set that I admire most in people when they can synthesize. I think that's a skill set that I struggle with greatly. My emails are too long. My answers are too detailed. I go off on tangents and details. And sometimes I'm really impressed when people can speak clearly and synthesize the information. So you can ask ChatGPT to make a comparison of 2 things. I use it almost every day. It's almost like I can't work without it.
Yeah, I like to use it. I just gave a best man speech, and I was like, "Give me the 8-minute version, the 4-minute version."
Oh yes, that's exactly it, Patrick. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not perfect because sometimes it cuts a little bit of the vibes out and you got to like add them back in, but very helpful. Thank you, ChatGPT. All right. Number 3, one piece of advice you give to your younger, I should say, self.
It's definitely stop living according to FOMO. But FOMO is interesting, right? Because it also got me to start the company. Because I thought if my greatest regret will be dying and thinking I never listened to or I never scratched the itch, right? I never listened to that thing that I kept hearing for years and kind of denied in myself. So I have to go full for it. But I think there's a lot of times in my youth, actually one of the women who we work with is a world champion rower, Olivia Roth. Olivia Roth. She's actually Swiss, but she rows at Berkeley.
Nice.
And she was recently telling me, hey, and every time a friend says FOMO, I think about Patrick McGinnis. But she said, a lot of people have FOMO here. And I've decided to just every Sunday take my friend and do something that's in nature or different, and away from what the rest of the crowd is doing. And I think I probably would say just relax and be in yourself and listen to what you really want to do against what the crowd is doing.
Yeah, it sounds like what she's doing is mindfulness, really. I mean, if we want to like put a term on it.
That's right.
Good job, Olivia Roth.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Final one. What's your most important memory?
Probably it was in 5th grade. I was, what are you in 5th grade? 10 or 11 years old.
Something like that.
I grew up in the country, Patrick. So we grew up, we had chickens, we had goats. Was outside a lot on my bicycle running around. And I always wanted a car to run around the farmer roads with rather than having to pump my bike around. And so I always asked my father, I just want a car. I want a car. I want a car. And one day he's a mechanical engineer by trade. So he said, okay, I will build you a car that you can drive around the roads. And I remember the day that he brought it home from where he was making it. And it actually looks so much like the new Tesla truck, only because it was made of the same sort of aluminum flat siding, except smaller. And it was using a moped engine, like a Vespa engine, that was the motor. And the seat was a school bus seat. And the steering wheel was the steering wheel of the moped. And so I was allowed to run around the country roads around our, house and visit my friend in the next village in my little car.
That is so sweet.
And it was sweet. And it was actually the prototype probably for another project he was working on for himself. But I think, it was like a dream in my head. And I had, and it was just somebody's, my father, I guess, is sort of tinkers a lot and makes things. And so it was nice to sort of get this example of, you can't just build this thing. You can get, as a kid, it was like a dream come true.
It's such a great story. And it makes me think when I was a little kid, whenever I had a school project, like I remember one time we were supposed to make a pillow, like for, I don't know why, it was something around like the early settlers or what, I don't know, like the Pilgrims. And my mom ended up making a quilt. Like she basically did the whole damn thing, but like it was awesome. And then I had science projects in 7th grade, we did something about Chernobyl. And my dad helped me build like a full-scale model of Chernobyl that was like crazy nice. It didn't blow up. It actually was pre-blow up. But it was made out of wood dowels and stuff. And it was like, of course I won, right? But I just love that when a parent sort of shows passion for to do something for their child and create something de novo like that. It's it's way better than any present you could buy off a shelf. It's really cool.
Yeah. To build something together.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So everybody, you have heard this journey and you've heard about this product. So if you're interested in learning more, maybe purchasing this product, you can go to Swijin.com. That is SWIJIN.com. You can find the company on Instagram at Swijin.official. If you want to connect with Claudia, because, who doesn't want to? You can find her at Claudia Glass on LinkedIn. All right, Claudia.
Patrick.
It's been so much fun having you. We'll have you back when you're a public company. But until then, thank you so much, Claudia Glass, founder of Swijin.
Thank you, Patrick. It's lovely to have become your friend and follow you. And for having this moment of being on your podcast. It's unreal. Thank you.
It's so fun.
You're
so good at it.
I used to listen to it. Now I get to be on it. It's a
boom.
Definitely, memorable moment.
FOMO. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis, on Twitter at PJ McGinnis, and on the web at FOMOSapiens.com or PatrickMcGinnis.com, where you can get all kinds of free resources to live a more decisive and entrepreneurial life. FOMO Sapiens is recorded in New York City. Theme music is by Mike McGinnis, and editing and post-production is by Josh Elstro. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me at FOMOSapiens.com and at PatrickMcGinnis.com. To advertise on FOMO Sapiens, reach out to contact@FOMOSapiens.com.